Hello, winners. Welcome to the MythBusters Tuesday night steak dinner of breakthrough tools to help you break out of perfectionism and break into excellence. Oftentimes, when we look at this phrase, practice makes perfect, we have the conception that, or the perception that everything must be flawless. And one of the things with flawlessness is very rarely achieved. So perfectionism is almost a harsh taskmaster that keeps you from actually performing at your best because it can cause burnout. It can quench. It can quench excellence. It can quench. I keep wanting to say perfectionism. It can quench creativity. That's the word that I'm trying to get out of my mouth today. And so when we think about practice makes perfect, I want to challenge that myth because practice doesn't necessarily make perfect, but practice does make permanent. And if we can pull back from the thought of perfectionism and move into something that is more progressive, where you celebrate growth, where you celebrate the journey, then perfectionism stops being that harsh taskmaster and you start to operate in excellence. And so when we come today to talk about where you are in your journey with perfectionism, I really want everyone to walk away from this live with tools to help you move out of perfectionism, move over to excellence, so that you can stop the procrastination that perfectionism often will create, and propel you into excellence where you can grow and you can thrive and you can feel good about the work you do each and every time you present yourself. So now that I've told you what we're talking about, let's say hi to all the winners. Welcome, winners. This is Breakthrough for Life coming to give you your Tuesday night 7:30 steak dinner of breakthrough tools. And I want to welcome all the winners who are joining. Thank you so very much for joining us tonight. We're not going to be here long tonight. I may even need to break this down into a two-part series. I mean, a two-part of the two-part. But I really want to come to you tonight, and I want you to understand that when we say practice makes perfect, it's a perfectionism trap. We don't want to get trapped in perfectionism. And let me tell you why we don't want to be trapped in perfectionism. Because perfectionism is rooted in fear, shame, and conditional worth. I remember being on interviews when I was a young girl, and they would say, well, what's your worst characteristic? And I was like, I'm a perfectionist. What's your best characteristic? I'm a perfectionist. And I did not realize that that word was rooted in so many things that we wouldn't want to identify with ourselves. We don't want to feel shameful. We don't want to operate in fear. We don't want to operate in conditional worth where we feel like if we don't get it just perfect, we're not good enough, we're not smart enough. But really, perfectionism is designed to never be met. You want to make progress over perfectionism. Thank you so much, Antoinette, for sharing that. You want to make progress over perfectionism because perfectionism is a trap for burnout. It is a trap for beat up. It is a trap for you to not operate in excellence. It's also a trap that will keep you from making progress. And so I said that when I did this live today, that I was going to share about the roots of perfectionism. And when we begin to look at the roots of perfectionism, it's fear based. Oftentimes, when someone is struggling with perfectionism, it is coming out of two basic fears: the fear of rejection or criticism, which is pretty much the same thing, fear of rejection or criticism, or and the fear of abandonment. Now, if you grew up in a childhood where everything was, you were praised when you did things perfectly well, and then you were mistreated when you messed up, or you were punished when you messed up, then you will oftentimes equate your self-worth to getting things flawlessly done. And that is a setup for a variety of things. It is oftentimes going to cause you to procrastinate or to overthink, where you are sitting and you're looking at something and you've put your best foot forward, but you'll be like, but there's just something not quite right. There's something else I need to do. And so you begin to procrastinate on it, because procrastination is birthed out of fear. Name a fear, any of the fears: fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of abandonment, fear of success, fear of missing out, a variety of different fears that will cause procrastination. But the type of fear that causes the procrastination, that creates perfectionism, will also cause you to burn out, because you can never reach perfectionism. So when we look at the main fear for perfectionism, it is rooted in rejection. So many perfectionists grew up in an environment where love or approval or safety felt conditional or performance based. Doing things perfectly became a way to avoid criticism or abandonment. And when you operate from that lens, it makes it hard for you to really thrive and feel good about the progress that you're making. So I want to exchange that practice makes perfect with practice makes permanent, or even better yet, practice makes progress. Because when you begin to operate from that lens, you are operating from a place of growth. Excellence is rooted in growth. Excellence is rooted in love, purpose, and good stewardship. So, where perfectionism is rooted in fear, fear of rejection or fear of abandonment, fear of criticism, and it has to do with shame, where you feel like I'm not good enough if I didn't do it perfectly right, if it was flawless. God forbid somebody criticizes you about something you've done, then you're feeling some kind of way about it, and you're feeling like your worth is conditional. You have tied your worth to, you've tied your worth to how well you get things done. And when you do that, it can take a toll on your self-worth. So where perfectionism focuses on, I must avoid failure and prove I'm enough. That's what perfectionism is rooted in. Excellence is rooted in, I want to honor God, grow, and serve well. Excellence says, I'm going to put my best foot forward. That's where we get excellence. Excellence is saying that I'm going to make the best decision I can, do the best work I can, based on the information I have at the given time that I'm doing the work. Now, hindsight's always 2020, and we can come back and look at something and say, dog, I should have done it this way, or dang gone, it could have been better this way. But excellence honors the effort you put in at the very beginning. And so it's not conditional on whether or not you're good enough or you're smart enough. What it is, it's saying that I put my best foot forward right here and right now, so that I can create the best end result that I can create in this moment. And granted, it can always get better, but I'm going to celebrate how good it is right now. Is this resonating with anybody? Is this speaking to anyone? I really want to help you break free from from perfectionism, because it is it takes such a toll on our energy and our self-worth. And so, where perfectionism is driven by external validation, perfectionism says, I want people to give me a pat on the back. I want people to acknowledge me. I want to pull this off flawlessly so people can see how great I am. That's perfectionism. Whereas excellence is driven by internal convictions of integrity, value, and calling. Let me tell you what, I remember when I was working in a corporate job, and one of the people says, I've worked with you in ministry and I've worked with you in corporate. And in corporate, you are like an iron fist, but in ministry, you're like a velvet glove. Why is that? And that was such a profound, pivotal question that I stopped and I thought about it. And I said, you know what? In ministry, I trust God for the results. In work, I trust myself for the results. So if I begin to trust God for the results in my work, then I would be a more loving and caring manager than I was before. And so when we begin to look at the different angles of these, when we are perfectionists, we're hard on ourselves and we're hard on everyone else. We set impossible um, standards that are hard to meet, and then we beat ourselves up for it. But when we are operating in excellence, we're operating in growth. We're operating in a growth mentality of progress and enjoying the journey. That it is about bringing God glory, and it's about using our gifts in the best way we know how to use them and offer them off to the world. And so one of the other roots of perfectionism is mistakes prove our inadequacy. And so oftentimes perfectionism is rooted in conditional worth. So our worth is tied to outside validation. Our worth is tied to flawlessness. Whereas when you look at excellence, mistakes are considered an opportunity to learn, an opportunity to improve, an opportunity to grow. We don't make mistakes final or fatal. They are stepping stones for us to do better, grow better, and be better. And so when you begin to look at the two, perfectionism, I often say, is a world concept, and excellence is a biblical concept. We want to operate in excellence. We want to operate in growth. We want to operate in such a way that we are not beating ourselves up every time we make a mistake because we're afraid that we are inadequate in some way. So the fear of inadequacy plays a role in perfectionism. And I'm gonna keep saying this, perfectionism is a harsh taskmaster that keeps you thinking that you have to get outside validation so that you can grow and so that you can thrive. And that's not the case. Oftentimes we grow from mistakes. WD-40 is WD-40 because 39 times he failed. And on that 40th time, he got it right. How many of us are willing to fail 39 times and still get back up and try it again? I want you to think about that. I want you to look at that from a different lens. If you took all the mistakes that you made in your life and you said, what did I learn from those mistakes? And you started to put the learning you got from those mistakes to use, how would your life be different? How would you view your stumbling blocks slightly different than how you view them now? See, an excellence mindset says practice makes progress. The practice builds excellence. The focus is on growth, consistency, and mastery over time, not flawlessness. I want you to come out of, I've got to be perfect, I've got to be flawless in order to be accepted. You were accepted before you had breath. Your worth was solidified when God gave you birth. So you want to stop and you want to look at excellence as a mindset to embrace over perfectionism. The focus on growth, consistency, and mastery over time allows you to come to every new task, not with a, I have to get it perfect, but with a, I'm going to grow through the process and I'm going to put my best foot forward. So yes, while it's a well-meaning cliche, practice makes perfect, often it fuels unhealthy striving, people aiming for excellence focus on consistent improvement, while perfectionists chase something that can't be reached. So you really want to stop and take a look at how are you viewing perfectionism? How are you viewing excellence? And how can you shift the view? How can you shift out of this, I've got to get it perfectly right, to the place where you know what? I am going to grow through the journey. So I like to present to you not just practice makes perfect, but practice makes permanent. Now, this is the thing. When you look at something that practice makes permanent, if you practice something wrong, the wrong way, it can make the wrong way permanent in your mind. So when you are looking at perfectionism and practicing something to make it perfect, really what you're trying to do is practice something in an accurate way to make it permanent. Because what we do on a consistent basis is what we are hardwiring into our brain. And so we want to make sure that what we're practicing to make permanent is something that's going to move us forward. And so when we want to look at a cliche, let's get rid of the cliche of practice makes perfect and add on the cliche of practice makes permanent or practice makes progress, because that's what we're looking to do. We don't want to get into the perfectionism trap, because we know that that trap is going to produce anxiety, procrastination, and burnout, whereas excellence is going to produce growth, joy, peace, and impact. Which one do you really want in your life? Do you want anxiety, procrastination, and burnout? Or do you want growth, joy, peace, and impact? Put it in the chat for me. Which one do you want in your life? Perfectionism, which is never satisfied, or do you want excellence, which is going to fuel joy, where you can celebrate your small wins along the way? You can learn from your mistakes. So let me give you a tool to pull you out of perfectionism and into excellence. One is for you to celebrate your small wins. And that means you have to stop and make a list of everything you've accomplished along the journey of your life. Let's say in work, wherever you're challenged with perfectionism, you want to sit down and write down, what are all the things that I've done well? And this is what you want to do. We call it strength pods at Breakthrough for Life. What you want to do with this is, when you sit down and write out all of your accomplishments, I want you to then ask yourself, what is one strength I had to exercise that I already had in my arsenal, and I used to accomplish this big goal? Then you're going to look at, what other strength have I exercised? So 2 strengths that you already had in place to bring about that accomplishment. And then what strength was developed in the meantime while you were going through? Let's say you got your college degree. Hold on, I got to block somebody. There's always somebody to block. Fall out. Bye-bye. So there we go. So we got him blocked. Okay. So with that being said, let's say you finish your college degree. You had the strength of organization, right? You're organized to get all of your stuff together so that you can get enrolled in school, things of that nature. You also had the strength of tenacity. Whenever you hit walls, you tried again and tried again and tried again. Then what skill was developed in going through school? It may have been your team building ability. Maybe you weren't a good team player when you were in high school, but in college you had to become a better team player because you had to do all these projects with multiple students in the class. So you developed that strength. And then what was the end result of you developing that strength and going after that goal? You got your college degree. You have a better earn potential. You have a greater chance of moving up in corporate. And if you would sit down with each of your accomplishments throughout your life, if you would sit down with them and look at your strengths, then you will begin to see how you have developed and progressed and grown in excellence over each and every accomplishment you've had in your life. So when we talk about practice makes permanent and practice makes progress, we want to celebrate the progress. When you are going after a hefty goal, you do not want to just go after the goal, go after the goal, go after the goal, go after the goal, and never stop to celebrate your small wins. What gets rewarded gets repeated. So you want to take some time to think about your small wins as you're going on the journey of crafting something excellent. Excellence says, I put my best foot forward. Remember, perfectionism says that I have to be flawless in order to be accepted, where excellence says I'm already accepted and I'm going to put my best foot forward. Okay. One is tied to an identity of performance, and one is tied to an identity of of security, and performance is an expression of your purpose. They're very closely aligned, but at the end of the day, excellence always wins because excellence always fuels you to grow and to do better. And so when we begin to look at perfectionism versus excellence, and we start to celebrate our small wins. When we start to celebrate our small wins, then we are saying, yes, I am moving forward. Yes, we've had some bumps in the road. Yes, we didn't always get it right, but I'm moving forward in progress. I'm moving forward in excellence. I'm moving forward in something that's going to fuel me and give me joy. And so I hope that you will come to the end result of this and stop spending energy on perfectionism, which says I must be flawless, which is unattainable. It's an energy of striving, and come into an energy of excellence where you're flowing out of stewardship. You're flowing out of strong self-worth. You're flowing out of excellence. You're flowing out of purpose. The end goal here is to avoid judgment with perfectionism. That's the goal. Perfectionism wants you to avoid judgment, whereas excellence wants you to give your best and glorify God in the process. So perfectionism will imprison you where excellence empowers you. So when you begin to look at your different situations, I got to get it perfect. I got to get it perfect. Ask yourself, how can I put my best foot forward? How can I be excellent in this moment? That's the goal. That's the journey. That's what we want to accomplish. Because when we are trying to be perfect, we are missing the point. We are missing the point. So we really want to strive for excellence. So this is what I will challenge you today. I will challenge each and every one of you today to take a moment and think about, what has perfectionism cost you? Peace of mind, anxiety, stress, beating yourself up over every single mistake. And guess what? The only people who don't make mistakes are dead people. Because the rest of us, we're having a human experience of transformation on a consistent basis. And we don't have to get it perfect, but we can give our best effort. And let me tell you something, there is no deception in the spirit realm. There is no lying to God about how well you did. When I show up for my clients may or may not know if I fully prepared for their session or not. But God knows, and God is our CEO. God is the one who knows all things. And so when you are working, you're working as unto the Lord. So when you put your best foot forward and you did the best you could based on the decisions, based on the information you had, then you can say, God, I give you glory for it. And you can lift it up to him and you can walk away with peace. How many of you guys want to do a project and walk away from it with peace and not anxiety? So I really challenge you today to get rid of this cliche of practice makes perfect and start to look at practice making progress. Have you moved forward? Have you done it better the second time around than you did it the first time around? Oftentimes in relationships, if we've had a bad relationship, we will say, I don't want another relationship. I'm not going to do that again. Blah, 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 blah. But you wall yourself off from the love that you can have from a more excellent relationship, from being with a partner who will work with you and dwell with you with understanding, for being with someone who will work to see it from your side of the page. Maybe your first wife didn't. Maybe your first husband didn't. Maybe your first serious relationship, they didn't give you the space that you needed to grow and to thrive. But when you meet somebody who will give you the space to be who you are, imperfectly perfect or perfectly imperfect, however which way you want to say it, then embrace that. Because sometimes we will make a vow on something that I'm never going to do that again because we made a mistake in it. But maybe you can do it a second time better. So I'm going to use Steve Harvey for an example. He's been married, he's on his third marriage. And I've seen a lot of criticism come against Steve Harvey because he gives relationship advice, and people are like, how you going to take relationship advice from somebody who's had two failed marriages and is on his third? Okay, let me tell you why I would take relationship advice from Steve Harvey every day of the week versus somebody who's never had a broken marriage, because he can tell you how not to destroy a marriage. He can tell you what not to do. He can tell you what you need to do. And what I love about Steve Harvey is he owns his mistakes. He owns the fact that he was young and dumb. And so if we could have that bounce back, then we can move more in excellence than we do in perfectionism. Remember, the word says that it's a righteous man who falls 7 times and gets back up. See, the getting back up is the key, not the falling. So if you're really looking to overcome a fear of failure, a great book by John Maxwell is Fail Forward. So school teaches you that there's one right answer and there's only one right way that you can do something. But life tells us that sometimes we need to use our failures as stepping stones. Sometimes we need to look at our mistakes and let's learn from it and not live in it. Let's learn from it, not live in it, so that we can propel forward. So I'd like to say this. We all need to spend 5% of our time in the past, learning from our past mistakes, learning from what we did wrong. And then we need to spend 15% of our time in the future. Write the vision, make it plain. What is your future goal? What do you want your future to look like? And then last but surely not least, you spend 80% of your time in the present, with your present anchored into the future so that you can craft the future that you want. And so this is Coach BU coming to you live. I wanted to give you this MythBuster, practice makes perfect. Let's ditch that statement. Let's come into practice makes permanent, or practice makes progress, so that we can all thrive and not just survive, so that we can stop striving and we can start propelling and soaring forward, that we can operate as women of action and not women that procrastinate in perfectionism. So let's get rid of our perfectionist hat. This is what I often say when I'm teaching my life coaching class at the Breakthrough for Life Academy. Tell your inner perfectionist, which is also your inner critic, to sit down and shut up, because we are going to progress our way forward to excellence. We are going to operate in such a way that we give God glory, because He's on the inside of us and He is creating something through us in this earth called our gifts that we give to the world. And if you are a person who's struggling with perfectionism, struggling with procrastination, and you want to become a woman of action, please schedule a free discovery call with me. And we will sit down for 45 minutes in that complimentary discovery call, and we will break down the barriers that are keeping you hindered, and we will propel you forward into excellence so that you can be the woman of action God created you to be. And that's a 45-minute discovery call. And schedule that discovery call when you're ready to invest in yourself through Breakthrough for Life. I give a performance guarantee. The goal that we come up with in that discovery call, I guarantee that you will reach that goal if you're willing to do 3 things. Take action and eliminate excuses. Get out of your comfort zone and do something different so you can get something different. And be open and coachable. If you're willing to do those three things, then I can guarantee you, you will be of the 95% of all my clients who reach their coaching goal. And many of my clients reach their coaching goal and get a breakthrough within less than 16 weeks. Some start out with a 10-week program, some with a 16-week program. It all depends, but you will see from the 120 testimonies on my website, there are people who get a breakthrough in the first or second coaching session. So you don't want to delay. Let's get our ducks in a row. Let's finish 2025 strong. Let's reach our goals. Get the help that you need with the power of a life coach. A life coach is designed to help you gain clarity, get out of your own way, break through your barriers so that you can crush your goals. And I want to be your advocate to help you win. I want to help women win at life from the bedroom to the boardroom. That's why I do these Tuesday night steak dinners. I want to help you overcome the barriers that have been keeping you stuck and struggling. But you have to take the first step, and you need to schedule a free discovery call with me. Go to my website at breakthroughforlife.com, schedule that free discovery call, and let's win at life together with a life coach who's an advocate to help you win. And this is Brenda Underwood, Coach BU, signing off and wishing you the best life has to offer. So I hope to see you in a discovery call. At the very least, I hope to see you jumping over the hurdle of perfectionism into the pool of excellence where you are fed with joy and peace and growth. This is Brenda Underwood signing off. Peace and love to you. Bye-bye.